We can't have salvation if we don't believe the right gospel. You don't get to reinterpret or reinvent or tweak the gospel and have the hope of salvation.
The gospel we preach must not be adorned with eloquence. It must not be adorned with your intellect. The raw gospel, the real gospel, the gospel of the cross, the gospel of blood, the gospel of vicarious suffering. If we will proclaim it, we will see the glory of God.
But if what you believed is something other than that which was proclaimed, you'll have no hope of salvation. So first and foremost, it's important that we get the gospel right, because if we don't, there are people out there, including ourselves, who will be duped into believing that they are right with God when in fact they are at enmity with Him. You believe the wrong gospel. It doesn't matter how sincere you are in your belief. You are merely sincerely wrong.
The gospel is not a new message that has only recently burst onto the scene in New Testament times. The gospel is not a trendy message to appear in these last days. The gospel, rather, is rooted and grounded in antiquity. The gospel is rooted and grounded in the Old Testament Scripture.
And you listen to me. Any doctrine, any principle, any law, any teaching that is placed beside the gospel are given more emphasis than the gospel. No matter how harmless it may be in itself, immediately turns into a doctrine of demons. We can see, especially in the book of Colossians, but also Ephesians, we can see in 1st and 2nd Timothy, Paul was a steward of the gospel. He was a guardian of the gospel. And you know what he was doing. If you read his epistles carefully, he was not only preaching the gospel, he was constantly giving it the preeminence and teaching the church about the preeminence of the gospel of Jesus Christ. That of all things, it stands first, because without it, all things fall apart.
You want to mess with the gospel, you want to tinker with it, you want to improve it, you want to change it, you're fooling around with a message that originates with God Himself. It is His message and His announcement.